Let's Chat About It is a thought-provoking podcast where your hosts Lenora Sneva and Max Brown engage in meaningful conversations with everyday individuals about the pivotal moments when they realized they were different. Tune in every Friday for fresh, inspiring videos that delve into personal narratives exploring the diverse journeys of self-discovery. From childhood revelations to adulthood epiphanies, each episode is a celebration of the diverse paths that shape our identities. This is more than just a podcast. It's a platform inviting you to connect with others through storytelling.
All right, welcome back to Let's Chat About It. I'm your host, Lenora Sneva. I'm with Max Brown and our special guest, Chrissy Sneva. Before we get into Chrissy's story, Max, what is the question of the day?
So I had a meeting today.
Oh gosh.
That was awesome. Didn't, impact me at all for the rest of the day. And so my question is, when you've had like kind of that day where you're like, oh, this could be done, 6 hours ago. What do you like to do when you get home to try and get it off your mind or unwind? And I think Chrissy might already have the answer in her hand, but I'm just kind of interested. Like, what's your therapy when you get home after that day?
So I have the benefit of living in a very walkable city. And that has been a very therapeutic.
The walking part?
Well, I'm getting to the other part.
Okay.
The walking part is important in so many ways because you live the city. And it's not just walking, it's the train, it's the whatever you have to maneuver that day. And it sounds like it can be another job, but for some reason it's just a time to just unwind and not like you're watching or reading or doing something other than work. Obviously you also have to pay attention to what's going on because today, like, my train changed 3 different lines and I was able to very easily navigate that. And I was grateful for knowing how to do that. And then walking that. And then I was like, oh, I gotta walk up this hill. I'm like, you know what? I get to walk up this hill.
Yeah.
And then I get to go home. And then I get to see both of my children who are able to get themselves from school to home. And my daughter made them both like a snack. And I could just pour myself a glass of wine and just chill.
Yeah.
I need to know what Joha made for a snack though, before we get what did she make?
She made ramen noodles.
Okay, good job, Joha.
That was the first thing we taught them how to make. When you get home, this is how you make ramen noodles.
Yeah, right?
Basic college 101.
Yeah, there you go.
Teach them early.
Raise them up
Boil
right.
something. Yep, exactly.
Gotcha. How about you, Lenora? What's your go-to after a day that you really had a great time at?
I think it's like Chrissy. I mean, I don't live in a walkable city, like, so I can't just like easily like walk out my development, and it takes a little bit more effort, and it's not as safe. There's not a lot of sidewalks, but I think that would be one thing. If I have like a pretty rough day, I need to get out. I need to get away from my computer. I need to get away from my phone and just do something different.
Yep.
So if it's not nice out, then I might just I might turn on my heated blanket and lay in the bed. Just like soothe myself. Watch a show or something like that. Max, what about you?
I probably should have taken a walk.
Yeah.
So I don't have sidewalks either, but I do have a nice like little route that I can just walk out my door and do like go to the end of my cul-de-sac and come back, and it's pretty quiet. And it's about a mile, so it's like a perfect little 20-minute walk. Probably should have done that, but no, I had basketball practice tonight for the kids. So this is my decompression right here, is hanging with y'all. So maybe I should go back. Maybe I need to go grab a beverage tonight.
I don't know. I think you just convinced everyone to not live in suburbia and go back into urban living.
I know, right?
Where
Well,
I don't know, because I gotta say it wasn't bad when, like, for my kids, when the friends came over and everyone was playing on the trampoline in the backyard. Which, I don't know if there's yards in Brooklyn, but kind of that's one
got a
benefit
little
of
flat
suburbia.
area.
Lenora's seen my
Yeah,
spot.
a little concrete.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
You guys have a pool there in the summer, right? You put your pool up
Yeah.
on your little
All right.
patio.
We've
There's
got areas. We got areas, but you have
Yeah.
to you have to be intentional with your areas. It's not
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
here it is, open your door.
Yeah.
But you also have, like, what I like about New York is that there's just lots of parks too. So there's parks like, every couple blocks there's like a little, like, hey, and then there's that big park by your house that takes you about 10 minutes to walk there. But oh my goodness, it's huge.
Well, and
We're talking about,
there's
it's
a
not
huge
Central
one
Park,
10
is it?
minutes, and then
No.
Which
one is that one called?
It's Prospect Park.
Prospect Park.
Okay.
Oh, I love
Which
the park.
is huge, which is we could have a whole podcast about Prospect Park and the whole history and the architecture of Prospect Park versus Central Park, and how they were both, made and, envisioned. It's wonderful. But there's a lot more green than you would expect.
Yeah, in the concrete jungle. I agree.
Yes.
I agree. All right. Well, I think we should get started. So
Let's do it.
Yeah. Chrissy, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the big question. Can you tell us something?
Something. Okay. Well, I'm a 20 plus years higher education professional. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in higher education. I believe in education as a public good. Sincerely. I counsel and help families in my job every day to try and figure out how to afford a college education. And I love my job. I'm a mom of 2 amazing children, and a wife of an amazing person. And I'm also a hockey coach, which is 2 other of my jobs. So I say that because I'm employed in 2 different other areas. I coach for the New York Junior Rangers, as well as another private rink for another clinic. And I also play continually. And it is such a joy in my life that has been a thread that I'm sure will be part of this podcast and a theme that has been something that I've started with and also have, picked up along the way. So
I get to do one thing now, because it's
Okay.
like nobody I know really cares about this, but I think, Chrissy, you'd appreciate this. I have one, like, really good piece of sports memorabilia, and it kind of technically involves the New York Rangers, kind of. So
okay.
I have a game used hockey stick that was given to me by Mark Messier.
Oh.
And Lenora's like, no clue. And
I know who Wayne Gretzky is.
Wayne Gretzky.
No, Lenora gets all the sports cred. She gets all the sports cred. She's
It's
a sports mom.
Yeah,
but not hockey. That's a whole.
It's fine.
It's a whole other culture. But, like, can I get, like, is that cool? Do I get anything? No one listening to this. Everyone listening to this podcast is like, huh? They're gonna have to Google what I'm talking about.
I know. You get all the sports cred in the world for that. I'm a bit speechless.
I don't get to do that very often.
I just
so
give me a moment. That's pretty awesome.
Wow.
I
Good job.
got points. I got points early.
Okay, I want to know where the hockey stick is, though. Do you have it? Is
It's
it
my parents'
prominent
house.
somewhere?
It's in my parents' house.
Oh, it is.
I need to go, and I need to go get it. Like I need to go send it in to get verified by like the NHL. It's not like authenticated, but I was literally at a hockey game. It was an exhibition game. We was playing for the Vancouver Canucks. They were playing in Tacoma, Washington. And the way the Tacoma rink works is after the game or between periods, the players would walk off the ice and you could kind of stand next to where they were walking off. There weren't seats right there. And at the end of every game, they do 3 stars, like the best 3 players of the game. And they kind of come out and they introduce them and they walk back on the ice. And so we're watching, waiting. I'm standing right against the rink, and Messier was one of the 3 stars. And he walks by, and everyone's like, "Can I have your stick? Can I have your stick?" And I'm like, "Can I please?" I said, "Please." That's the only difference. I said, "Can I please have your stick?" And he just holds it out, and I just kind of grabbed it. I was probably 10, and I assumed,
and you're
I'm a little kid, you know,
Yeah.
and I assume I just left it there because I'm like, oh, he just wants me to hold it for him while he goes out on the rink. So he goes out on the rink, and then he just walks right by me, and I'm just like,
oh,
and he kind of turns around and smiles, and I'm like, oh,
If you were my son, I would be like, give me that stick.
yeah, it's mine. I bought those tickets. You are here because of me.
You hold this. You hold this. You hold this dear. You hold this very.
So it is sitting at my parents' house. Yep.
That's an amazing memory and just an amazing moment.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Believe me, we could have a whole podcast about
hockey. We could do parks and hockey. We're gonna start our own podcast, Lenora. It was nice knowing you.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
See you later. Bye. So, Chrissy, tell us about when you first knew you were different. What was happening for you?
This is a really a tough question. And it's a tough question because I think it feels different at different ages for myself. And what I'll at least start with is in 6th grade, I was on the church stage. I always did. This won't surprise Lenora because I was always on the stage. I was just doing all the things and being the person in front because she knows my daughter is her goddaughter, who is very, very theatrical and very talented. And I remember being told, it was the first time I was being told about my body and being described in a way that I had never been described before. And whether that's negative or positive in any light, you know, how one perceives that, whether you're being told you're skinny, fat, tall, short, cute, whatever, you know, whatever those words are, you know, that's what was being told to me. And at that age, and in reflecting about this, I thought, oh, I think that's the first time I really realized that people were judging me or like having an opinion of me, and it was coming toward me. And whether or not that was perceived as negative or positive, I've been reflecting on that, and I'm like, oh, this is the same age as my daughter.
Oh, wow.
And she's in an extremely like you know, in a way that is so, you know, present, and I've been told I've been warned about the body shaming and the judging and the everything. And I thought, oh my God, I thought that at 6th grade on the stage of my church. And here's my daughter over here in Lincoln Center on a stage, being told she's either too big or too tall or, all of these things. And I was just starting to feel that same like uncontrollable feeling of this is just me and my body. I can't do anything other than I'm like just standing here. So, so that was one thing that I've reflected on recently. And then one thing that I can't, ignore that's been just such a big part of my life. And it has really shaped a lot of how I've thought about, just my own character and how I've gone about a lot of things in my life. And has come full circle in many ways, even after I've had kids, is being a female in a very male dominant sport and how hard that was. And coming through and what all that meant. And then being told that I was never good enough. And then, just trying to like rediscover and refine myself in an era of trying to have children and doing the career thing and everything else. So it's been like, I feel like it's been like a couple of, I think each decade of my life, it's been like, what else, what are we here for? What am I showing up for? What am I, trying to, define or redefine or, I don't know. It always feels like it's a work in progress.
Yeah. I think that we all probably feel the same way, right? It's a learning journey, our life.
Yeah.
What about, how old were you when you started playing hockey?
So I was 8 years old, and they just threw me on the ice. Just there I go. And I'm falling all over the place. And I remember like just getting up and just, just moving. And my dad's like, oh, she sucks. And that was heartbreaking. They're like, yeah, the girls don't do really well. And in a year, she doesn't, basically like there's no place for her because there's no checking for girls. So I was at a time, I don't consider myself very old. I'm only 43 years old. But yet at a time, if I was born 5 years, earlier, it would have been very different.
Oh yeah.
And that for me in hockey and all the things and my, where I grew up and all this stuff. But it was tough to love something so much and then being like, nope, you're a girl. You can't check. You're out. And then I kept skating as much as I could. They tried me on figure skates. I was a mess.
Oh, no.
I was a mess.
You were a hockey player.
They put me on figure skates. They put me on ballet shoes. I'm like,
nope.
this does not compute. And when I went back, so when I went to college, in my freshman, whatever orientation thing, I can't even remember what it was at this point, there was a hockey jersey, and I just looked at that hockey jersey and was like, yes, that's me.
Mm.
Had
That
you
is
been
me.
playing? Hold on. Let's go back though. Had you been playing? So you started when you're 7 and they tried to get you to do other sports. You're like, no, it's so did you continue kind of to play or did you kind of hang it up?
There was nothing.
Oh,
There was nothing. There was nothing. I think that's what, like, and Lenora knows this because she's lived she's lived sports, and she knows like what it's like to continue to support a kid through sports. And that's what we do. And like that's what I'm doing, obviously for Jude, who's my oldest, who plays hockey. He's a beautiful skater. And he tells me all the time, he's like, Mom, you don't skate like this, you skate like this. And I'm like, you have no idea where I had to, I started from like nobody training me.
right. Yeah.
To playing D3 college. And you're like telling, like, and he's a more beautiful skater than I could ever be.
Oh,
which is wonderful, which is what you want.
totally. Yeah. You want them to do better than you. Absolutely.
But, that development, was just not there. So I'm just a scrappy hockey player.
Chrissy, so you live in New York City today. When you were growing up, where was home for you as you were growing up, and trying to get on the U.S. Olympic hockey team?
Not even close.
Hey, we gotta start somewhere.
When I played those Canadian hockey teams, we were like, okay, everybody just block the net. Everybody just.
This is about pride. We don't want to lose 14-0.
Exactly. And they were nice about it. It was Buffalo, New York.
Okay, so you're in New York. You're used to. It wasn't like this is an area where you have a professional hockey team in the area. It's probably part of the culture to a degree as well, right? This isn't like I live in
not in the women's area.
But in that community, there's hockey's accessible, at least to the guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any friends that played, or were you kind of off on an island?
I did not feel like I was on an island. As soon as I was on that women's team, I felt like I had all my people.
Wow.
We are
so you're a walk-on then. So you just like you saw the jersey
skate on.
And you're like
skate on. Excuse me.
I'm sorry. You're a skate on. But you saw the jersey in freshman orientation, and then what happened? Can you finish that part of the story? Because I interrupted you. Sorry.
And that was it. I was like, sign me up. And I told my dad, he's like, good luck. I told my mother, she said, I don't want you to do this. I paid too much money for your teeth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I paid for all of my equipment at Play It Again Sports.
Ooh.
On my own.
Saved a few bucks.
I looked ridiculous.
Just mix max gear.
Nobody taught me anything. They were like, what is this? What is this? Where's this? Where's this? I had to learn everything on my own.
And no YouTube video to watch, probably.
No, and no person to say like, oh no, do this, do this, do this, do this. All these things that all these other, quite frankly, like males had growing up through
Mentors
these ranks.
And, coaches.
Here I am showing up in like, I basically had cardboard on me wrapped around, and the coaches were like, oh who is this? And I ended up being the captain for 2 years and the president of the team for 3.
That's awesome.
And that was how much it meant to me. And I think that's the key piece, is like when you find that thing that means that much to you, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
And how hard will you work for it,
Oh, every day.
Yeah, right?
Every day.
The limit.
Yep.
That's awesome. So do you have any good, like, do you have a highlight story that you just go back to of when maybe you have a few too many beers with friends and you have like, hey, back in
remember when.
07, I tell you this story. We were playing against so and
I do have one. I do have one.
Okay, good.
Don't worry, Lenora, it's fine. I've said this, I've told this story to my son, and it kind of echoes what the point I just made about the passion and about that being, really something that you can't teach. And there was this moment. So our, being this D3 women's team that nobody cared about, our practices started around 4:30 a.m. So
wow.
I had to be, can you imagine those February
Ooh.
mornings?
Oh,
yeah. You could barely get into your car because it was just iced entirely. You could not leave your equipment in there because you were like, not sure how those are getting on in the morning. And that was like every morning. It wasn't like, oh, once a week, we're putting on cold equipment. You're like, no, I'm freaking freezing. And every single day. And then I got to get to stats class at 9 a.m. But there was a morning that I'll never forget where we just, the whole team was just, we were just not doing it. We were not feeling it. We're all over the place. And our coaches were volunteers. They were not paid. At that level, you don't have people that are on scholarship getting paid, whatever. Believe me, they all should have been being paid
right.
with what they were dealing with. And these were 3 volunteer coaches that came on at 4:30 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
to coach a bunch of women that have never coached women before. They had to learn along the way. And they were, talk about a book opportunity. Please reach out to them. And I remember, and they were like having babies. It was like they were going through life that
was happening.
Like we weren't going through life. We're like, wow, we stayed up too late. It wasn't, and I remember the head coach just being so frustrated. And he's like, you know what? You're not going to show up. I'm done. Walked off.
In the middle of practice?
Talk about a miracle on ice moment. And we looked at him and we were like, did he just walk off the ice? And we're all looking at each other. And the captain goes, get on the line. I was like, oh boy. So all 15 of us got on the blue line. And we all know what's about to happen. And if you've ever seen Miracle on Ice, when you run the mountain, it is stops and starts along each line. And it is a lot. It is a lot. And we did that until he came back on the ice.
Oh my gosh.
Which team do you play for?
Yes.
United States of America. That's a great movie.
It was Max. Thank you. I could not have. We couldn't have even scripted this.
Tonight is our night.
It was this moment, and I tell my son this. I'm like, it wasn't this like super special game. It wasn't this other big thing. It was literally a 4:30 a.m. on a Tuesday where we just didn't want to skate. And he was like, I'm done. Out he goes. And we were like, well, what the hell do we do with this?
He literally did not get paid enough to deal with that shit.
Literally 0. But here's what happened. We were like, shit, now we got to get on the line, and now we got to do this. And we did it. Oh, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that practice. And we skated that way as hard as we could until he came out.
Oh my gosh.
And he came out, blew his whistle, and said, now I'll coach.
Oh, there we go.
And I can't, like, the character building of, I forget what your question even was, but that was such a pivotal moment in my life that I'll never, ever forget. That it was just a bunch of us just looking at each other like, shit, we all have to do this, don't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or it's over.
Right. Here we go.
Well, it's good bonding moments too. That's what a good story. And then what good bond, like you'll never forget it. Like you said, you can always go back to them. And do you remember when that one time when you quit it and we had to run, we did it for an hour?
Do you remember you came out of the locker room and you were so pissed at us? He still says that moment. He's like, yes, that's the proudest moment. I'm so proud of you. I'm like,
oh, he's like, it worked.
We got to work on that book.
Like, thank God we did that.
Seriously.
I don't think he would ever.
Well, good for the captain too for calling it. She's like, oh no.
She was just the best example of what a captain should be.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't give up.
Chrissy, you've kind of mentioned this. I'm not sure if the right word. It's not just passion. Kind of sounds a little bit too like grit. Like there's just this determination of like, don't have the opportunity, but I care deeply enough about this, so much so that I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make it, to kind of create this path. How has that impacted you as, and maybe you can choose one or two, you can just do either direction with this, but how has it impacted you as kind of a parent coach role, but also in your work with other families and students trying to get through the college process? Like how is that, have you taken that experience and applied it to those settings?
Whew. What a loaded question. So as a parent coach, I've had to learn a couple of things. One, I've had to gain my own confidence in my own coaching experience, which I think is also a thing that a lot of people go through as their kids are growing through a sport. And I will say that also admitting that there are times that you shouldn't be the coach and you should just be the parent.
There you go.
And that's a very hard thing to be. And I can talk a lot about that. And I've had to recently like move that here, but have my own coaching space, which I'm extremely grateful for. In terms of families, I can sympathize and somewhat empathize with the burden of what they're going through. I can't say that for my own kids, but living in New York City, where from the middle school to high school, you're going through an application process. You're going through a lottery. You're going through the possibility of litigation. You're going through the cost factor. You're going through a ton of different things already at a very early age. So at some point, we're in New York. Fortunately, we're just in a process like that. We don't just send our kids down the street. And there's a reason why people move out of the city, because that's, something that is better for their kid. And it's hard from an educational standpoint. Where really what you're trying to do is meeting where your kid is at. And that's what I talk to a lot of parents about. And it's not just from, this is how you afford education. It's, what does your kid need? What is the environment they're going to thrive in? Whether you think they thrive in it or not.
Mhm.
Like, what does your kid think at that point? And that's been something I've had to learn through my own children's experience, through their own learning disabilities, is what is actually going to help them in what environment. And that I talk a lot about, I talk to a lot of parents about that. I think we are at least in higher education, trying to think a lot more about those supporting services that we have not had to before.
Mhm.
I've not heard student advisement in college settings talk more about how to read IEPs in my entire career. And I've been doing this for 20 plus years. And now that is, I don't know if that's part of COVID, part of, whatever generational thing that we could be thinking about, but that's also a thing. So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it's good. I gave you the option to take it wherever you wanted, and you did.
Sorry, I go in tangents. I'm sorry.
No, but I
It's
think Max was asking about grit, and I see your grit and your determination in both. Like you being able to reflect, like, yeah, I don't know if I should be coaching right now. Maybe I should just be the parent. But I'll get my coaching over here. And then like when you think about you being in higher ed and supporting parents, like you're almost helping them kind of build their grit by your own story about your own children and your own experience, but also just noticing like the changing landscape of education and the applicants that you're getting. They look different. Their profile looks a little different. And it sounds like you're a resource for that. You're like, oh no, I know what an IEP looks like.
Yeah. I read those, quite frankly, a lot. So thank you for reminding me about the grit piece. Yeah, I hope that my children look at me like this is somebody who just goes out and just kills it, does it, regardless of what I do. After a Monday night. So last night I played a doubleheader after coaching. So that was about 5.5 hours on the ice for me. I'm not proud of my performance. Believe me, I was like, ooh, I am tired.
Is this like a legit league or is this a beer league?
Oh, okay. So first of all, Max.
Did I just offend you?
Well,
I guess my point is like, I mean,
so these are,
I'll be quiet.
Yeah, Max, let me tell you. These are women that are, there are some that
it's a women's league?
It is a LGBTQ plus league.
Okay.
And majority of these players are all former college players.
Oh gosh.
Colgate, Penn.
Oh yeah, no, this is not a
they're the stickers are all over the helmets, and every single time I'm like, God damn it, it's maroon pants again. Here we go. I'm like, why are we against UMass? Oh,
geez.
No.
Okay.
But then you're like, okay, here we're going. We're going in a wrestling match in this zone right now. Like, here we go. Like it's that, and the ref thinks we're hilarious because he's like, oh my God. He's like, I don't even know which way this is going. I'm like, okay, you need to pay attention. Okay. You are keeping this in check, okay? Because this one is about to body check me into next week. We're here. So it is not beer league.
No.
These are former college hockey players.
This is a league.
Oh, badass. wonderful, amazing women that will literally check you into next week and literally look behind you and go, sorry.
Yeah.
And then keep going.
Kinda. Gotcha.
It is.
So,
and I was body checked yesterday. So.
oh.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I just don't want to get injured again.
Did you want to go in the box? Is that where you wanted to go? Do you want to go take a break?
I'm like, quick shifts, people.
In and out. Gotta keep the legs fresh.
Everybody is like 20 something, and here's my 43-year-old ass. Just I'm like, I'm just hoping I don't go. I can get home. I just want to get home. Ugh.
So, Chrissy, if you could go back and talk to that 10-year-old girl on the stage and then compare her to like Joha right now, who's about the same age, like what would you say to her that's different than the messages that she's getting from society?
Oh, Lenora with the tough questions. I think the way I'm going to answer this is the way that I'm approaching on how to parent her. Which is, allowing her to just be herself, obviously. There are certain things that she's just loves to do, and I don't want her to feel insecure about that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one thing. The other thing is, I know that she in particular is feeling she's always felt very connected to me.
Mm-hmm.
But she needs to also feel very comfortable with her dad. And that's been a relationship that's been very intentional on, him building and her building, which has been just absolutely wonderful to see, which I never had.
Right.
And so that's amazing. That's amazing for her to feel that comfortable and that real with her father. And, I know she'll feel that way with me. Clearly, she asks me all the questions. And I think that's wonderful. The other thing is, I felt like I had to grow up at a very early age for various reasons within my family dynamic. I don't want her to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to think, right now, her dream is to be a principal dancer in the New York City Ballet.
Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful dream.
Yep.
And that is like literally at her fingertips. And that to me and to my husband are the most important things to be able to continue to foster in her over and over and over again, because that was not like, I wanted to be on a stage. I wanted to dance. My husband was wonderful on the stage. We loved performing. We loved the performing arts. And to be able to give her like this like push,
exactly,
is just incredible. And so that to us is everything, in so many ways. And I wish that could have been me in some ways. Looking back, I don't know how it could have been compared to like what our lifestyle is right now. But yeah, it's one of those examples of, getting your kid there where you couldn't have been.
Exactly. Yep. Well, thank you so much, Chrissy, for sharing with us your story and all your stories. You had a lot of stories. We really appreciate it. That was so good. It was good to hear. I don't know. We haven't had these conversations before when I've come to visit, so it's fun to know you in a different way.
Well, obviously, Lenora.
Yes.
And Max, it's very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you as well.
So much. Thank you so much for the thoughtful, wonderful questions.
Yeah.
You made me very comfortable.
Oh, good. Thank you. We do our best.
All right.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Okay, bye. All right, so that was Chrissy Sneva, my sister-in-law, and wow.
Yeah. There's something about these New York. You got these New York guests, and they bring a whole different flavor.
I know, right? The East Coast people, they bring it in a different way than the Pacific Northwest ones do.
They do. Yeah, absolutely.
It was really good, though. Really good. I don't know. It's interesting. We have a lot of guests that are parents on our show, and such good advice and reflection from them about I'm doing this different.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but just different. And
yeah, absolutely. I think it's the challenge of everybody's got baggage from their childhood. Everybody's got something their parents did that you're like,
exactly.
God, I hope I don't do that.
Right.
But it's kind of, realistically, it's kind of our default. And without being thoughtful and intentional about doing something differently, it's just kind of the pattern that we're going to find ourselves in. So it's really, it's encouraging, and I think really thought-provoking to figure out what is it that we picked up as kids that we just don't want to bring with us into our parenting, and to really honestly do the work to not do it.
Exactly.
And hearing Chrissy, and I was like, motherhood sounds good on her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's really,
totally.
really cool.
We will see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks, everybody.
The Let's Chat About It video podcast, produced and edited by Lenora Sneva, invites listeners to share their stories. To participate, email letschatnow1010@gmail. New episodes featuring people like you and me are released every Friday. Thank you for listening and being a part of a community who cares. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Thanks for listening.